Hello everybody, we're ready to go. Excuse me. Oh,
Sorry, I was just testing the mic.
So if you haven't yet met the lovely Kieran, it's been a wonderful Kieran who's been running out and turning the lights down and up and moving things around to make sure that today has gone as smoothly as possible. So thank you, Kieran. I'll say that as you are coming back to your places, I'm going to invite all of the speakers, if you would like to come up and join us at the front, and then that will make it easy for me to then pass the microphone around. We can move these move chairs as to where people would like to sit easily. Rory's here to assist with that, which is brilliant. And then everybody else, if now you feel like you'd like to move, you'd like to get closer, you'd like to get further away, however you'd like that to be, then just move yourselves now. You don't have to stay in the position that you're in now if it makes more sense for you to move, make a move at the moment. That's great. Thank you. And then whilst you are getting yourself settled and sorted, there's a couple of things that are really important to tell you. The most important is thank you for your patience in this room. It's not an ideal room. As you can see, the curtains don't quite meet. The sun moves around the room. How does it do that? I don't know. Anyway, the sun moves around and it causes us some challenges, but I think the speakers have all coped really well with that, and you have all been incredibly patient. So thank you very much for that. It is a limitation, but when you do your feedback, which I'm coming on to now, when you do your feedback forms, please do tell us anything that you think is going to be useful for us to make the event itself more accessible as we develop these events ourselves. So please do that. There are paper, if you like to write things down, there are paper feedback forms on the registration desk over there with the lovely Rachel, or we will be sending this to you, and we'll send this to all the speakers as well. We will send you electronically a feedback form too. So we read them all. We absolutely read them all, and we take it all on board. So please, anything you've got to say, constructive or lovely about the event, that would be really, really helpful. Thank you. And then I have two more things to tell you about, which is, of course, if you get involved in folk. Who would not want to get involved in folk after today? If you are already involved in folk, of course you want to get involved. It's only £2 a month, is that right? And you get a beautiful badge. I saw somebody wearing a badge earlier. Look, Jen's wearing a badge, it's gorgeous. Anyway, get one of those. And then, the last thing, not the least thing, there's lots of other things like a table, freebies, buying on the table, lovely, is that the English Folk Dance and Song Society, Rachel, Jen and I are all going to be involved with the wonderful, wonderful Louise at People Dancing for their summer school intensive. And I would really encourage any of you folk dance practitioners to go to these summer schools, because you will you'll meet people from different dance genres, but we're all trying to do the same thing. We all want people to dance. And that's what we want to do. And you're going to learn from them, and you've got things to share with them too, which is really, really part of what the summer school's about as well. It's about sharing as well as going and learning. You're going to be there. Kavina's booked! Yes! Excellent! Oh. So Kavina just said she's a People Dancing School regular. Excellent. That's brilliant, Kavina. Thank you. So I'm going to pass over to the wonderful Jen, who's going to introduce the session. Yeah, Kieran's going to be, if you want to ask a question from the floor, then just make sure you've caught Kieran's eye, put your hand up, and he will come and give you the microphone. You need to be quite close to it. You can speak over, I'm learning more about how to speak over the top so that you can lip read as well. Is that a good technique? So try and do that, but you can be quite close. Great. And then I'll be here to pass it around between the speakers as well. Great. Anything else I need to say? No? Jen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, free
Oh, free
learning resources on our website.
resources on the website. It's on the back of your programmes. Free. They're absolutely free, downloadable resources, including Emmy, Rory and Seth's fantastic resource. They're all brilliant, and there's more. There's more. Great. Thank you, Rachel. Jen?
That was another electric shock. Seriously, I think it's me. Oh no. Oh no. I always used to get this when I worked in a stable. I'd get on a horse and it would go. I think it might be me. Hey ho. I'm going to sit down because I'm clearly a liability. So, the first thing I wanted to say is a huge thank you to everybody who is here today for coming and giving your time and your expertise and your input and your knowledge to the conversations we've been able to have today. And I wanted to make the last bit more, as much of a conversation as we could. So I really wanted to throw the floor open to any questions that anybody has and take it from there, because I think these things are always fluid. So yeah, does anybody have anything they feel hasn't been addressed or they'd like to talk about more during this part of the day, or any reiterations of any points that have been made but maybe not as brusquely as one might feel. So I think my key takeaway is that obviously everybody in the room is very on board with accessibility, but it's that message of the mindset behind it, getting out into organisations that's the thing, and leading by good practice is what I and my organisations try to do. For those who don't know, I also organise festivals and Kaylee series and lots of random things like that, and we do try and put that accessibility into our events, and it's always a learning curve, but yeah, I'm wittering. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say?
Just leading on from that point, I think it's partly a matter of expectations, in that if organisers and things aren't expecting that they need to do this, if they don't see other people doing it, then they're less likely to do it themselves. So the more that we are able to start doing it ourselves with what we are doing and convincing people to do it, the more that other people are then going to be like, oh right, this person's mentioned that there's step-free access, maybe I'll do that too. And I actually noticed on a gig poster that they were mentioning that there was step-free access, and I was just like, oh, I've literally never seen that. I was so excited. I mean, I couldn't go, but you know, I literally was thinking, can I cancel my holiday just so I can get to that last gig? I think seeing something often is going to get people on board, and yeah, as much as we can do that is good. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm also reminded that a lot of the points we've been talking about today are relevant to a piece of work I did last year, accessibility and inclusion guidance for social folk dance, which is available on the EFTIS website. A lot of the issues that you might come across in the field, as it were, are referenced in that guide, and it's divided into sections for dancers and for callers or teachers and organisers. So if there's anything that you feel you might sort of want a reference to, then that might be a good place to start, or a good. I kind of tried to design it as a way of building the thought processes rather than a sort of do this, don't do this kind of guide. So that it could be background reading as well as a sort of how to guide, and it does talk about something we haven't touched on very much today, which is gendered calling, which is still a thing that happens sometimes in the world. So there's that.
Can I just tell you where you can find it? So if you go to our website, at the bottom of the website, there is a link that says policies, and it's there, along with several other helpful documents, safeguarding, those code of conduct, those sorts of things. But that's where you can find the accessibility and inclusion guidance.
Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, I think I'm hoping that people will, as I say, build that thought process rather than take that away and use it as a piece of as a roadmap, as a more specific thing. So, yeah, I'm interested to know how people are feeling about their kind of confidence with these issues, and how people might feel about the sort of their own level of knowledge as a practitioner about how they do things, and if anyone's got any takeaways from today that might demonstrate that, sharing of knowledge, having worked, just give me a little bit of drop satisfaction. You know. People are studiously writing. Yeah, Sarah.
Firstly, thank you for organising today. I've really enjoyed each and every of the sessions, and I've learned something from all of them. But I think I'd like to share an observation, which is that I'm a ceilidh dancer. I attend events. I don't host them. But that a lot of the points that you speakers covered to say this is what will make it more accessible to those with specific accessibility requirements actually apply to me. So, you know, I can cope with steps, etc. But, you know, like today, for example, I've come up from Devon, so I might have a really big, heavy bag, and knowing that I can bring it into the space or not, that sort of thing. But mainly in the sort of the way that you're approaching the dancing in particular. So this will be a really energetic hop step. So bring your partner up. You're going to keep them the whole time. I know that I could dance that with my really bouncy 4-year-old niece. But this is going to be a waltz where you progress. I might go, I don't really want to, I'm not up for that level of closeness with a load of strangers at the moment. So I suppose it's sort of accessibility is for everybody. And you've really, really highlighted that for me today. So thank you.
That's fabulous. Thank you, Sarah. Janet, is it to say something?
It's called the cut curve effect. Accessibility is useful for everybody. So they noticed that when they added dropped curves, they're called cut curves in America, which is why it's called the cut curve effect, that it helped everybody, not just wheelchair users. They were put in for wheelchair users, but people using buggies, delivery drivers, cyclists, so many people made their lives so much easier. And that's the thing about building in accessibility. It doesn't just help people who have specific disabilities, because there are always going to be things that everybody is going to find difficult of one day or another, whether or not they've got something diagnosed.
I was just thinking about what you're saying. Hello. Something that I learned about was universal design. And I think that's really, really important, that we need to be getting all those the big powers that be thinking about universal design. That, you know, basically we all need accessibility rights. We all need to be able to get into places. We all need to be able to get around places. Just making places and spaces quieter, safer, more comfortable places to be in. That applies to pretty much everything in life, doesn't it? And it would be really, really lovely if we could achieve universal design.
I'd just like to share an experience I had a few years ago when I broke my foot, and my neighbour kindly lent me her pavement buggy. And more of the Morris size I danced with, dancing in Norwich, and I was merrily going along on this pavement buggy, and the pavement was getting narrower and narrower, and there was no dropped curb. My husband was also one of the musicians with the side, and he walked off and just ignored my predicament. And so I ended up with two of the, yes, quite. So I realised the problems there. Fortunately, two of the other lads in our side decided that I needed this thing lifting down. Or things. So, I mean, it's quite useful to have experienced things like that when you're struggling to get some accessibility side. You understand the problems.
There's an article about universal design and a choreographer who tried to apply it to the body, well, successfully applied it to the body, Jen Cox. Did you dance? Did you experience any of that at Ballet Cymru? There's a guy at University of Washington. They got together cross-departmentally, because my understanding of universal design is it's architectural principles, meaning that if you design it for everybody in the first place, you'll never have to adapt it, because it will be as it's supposed to be. And going back to what you were saying about how do we make the arguments to venues and people to pay attention to this stuff, because I think some people still don't think it's not their business. Or is it, someone was saying that they'll go, oh, we'll adapt it later. It's like, no, do it in the first place. But helping venues to understand that that will benefit them as well. And there is a scheme about it. There's like you can have bronze, silver, and gold accessibility. Can't remember what it's called. Attitude is everything. Attitude is everything. Yeah. And unfortunately, not everybody is motivated by morals or openness or whatever. Some venues just want to compete with each other, and sometimes it's just making them aware that there is a standard. It's been set by disabled people, as it should be, and they're not meeting it. So, or if you have bronze accessibility, silver accessibility, gold accessibility, that's a way of people seeing what accessibility might be. I still think there's a standard beyond, but thinking of ways to motivate people that may be not motivated by the same things as we are. But yeah, this article is by this guy called Jen Cox. But if you look up Universal Design, you see, it's called Of Ghettos and Ivory Towers. And it was one of those that stopped a conference because it was so radical. Be interesting to see too.
That sounds fabulous. We could absolutely dig the link out to that and send it around at the press conference and everything, yeah.
I've just remembered Lisa highlighting something when she was organising a showcase for the Music Trust that she works for, and it was that the audience areas of this venue were very accessible, but the stage, shock horror, somebody with mobility problems likely to get on the stage.
Can I say something about that? I sang with a choir for a number of years, and we were repeatedly booked into venues that were up stages and down in basements, and the same people would book us to places that they knew they had a wheelchair user, and they just expected me to learn how to deal with it, not that it was anything that they had to deal with. Like that they set us a whole week of workshops in a basement. It wasn't even that long ago. I think about 8 or 9 years ago. That is still that's so recent that that's still happening, and it's still happening now. That I don't know how to get accessibility onto stages because so many of them are not accessible.
Well, as a disabled caller, I come across this quite a lot. And I know with my health and whatnot, it will deteriorate to a point where I can't get myself on stage, whatever method that will be. I mean, ultimately, it probably is harming me, and I probably shouldn't be doing it. But, especially as a wheelchair user trying to call, it's much easier if I can see over everyone. Because down on the floor, it's really difficult to see what's going on. And it's easier as well for people to come to me with the issues they're having, or the way I would call for a big room is very different when I'm on a stage versus if I'm down around people. So yes, I completely understand the frustration. And the other problem is how ramps and things legally need to be up to certain standards in this country. Other places, yeah.
Distances. It's to do with the gradient of the stage, isn't it? Sorry to put in. I just remember I put on a dance performance years ago for people with learning disabilities, and it was really complicated. Yeah.
I mean, you go, I know, places in like Italy, for example, people have built wooden ramps all over the place. You can get in all over the place, but obviously there's no quality control, and there's no... So I think that's probably the first place to start, maybe, is looking at just ramps. Simple.
Hi, I'm Kavina, and I have a bee in my body about one of the biggest dance exhibitions going, called Move It. Who knows Move It? Move It is Excel every year, and they've just had their 20th anniversary. And my daughter and I have been going for years and years and years, And no matter how many times I've been there and I've spoken on a panel and everything else like that, you know, the inclusivity is just not getting into them at all. You know, they're not only discriminating against any kind of disability dance company, they're just discriminating against alternative forms of dance as well, like folk dance. You know, it's just crazy. I mean, we went this year, 20th anniversary. What have they done? Oh yes, we made it a little bit more disability friendly. They spread some of the stalls out more. You know, you can now include a carer on your ticket. But what, one disability dance company on the stage, one older dance company on the stage, maybe a couple of stands that cover disability dance and performing. But when you go around and ask all like the educational establishment, so have you got any accessible training courses? Well, if somebody applies, then we will make the adaptations. No, you make the courses accessible in the first place. You don't wait till people apply. And like I said, alternative dances like folk dance and that just doesn't get a mention in places like Move It. So how are the younger generation supposed to know about alternative forms of dance?
Yeah, that's a very, very good point, Maria, thank you. It definitely highlights the fact that, Laura has a hand up while the mic's getting there, that this does need visibility in order for other people to feel empowered to access it. Sorry.
Kaveen, I completely understand. I was there at Move It, and it's nuts how inaccessible it is. I was at the battling stage, and I had to literally fight to the front because that's the only way I could see. For the longest time, I was sat behind a whole bunch of kids who would, you know, the b-boy battles, and they're getting hyped up and all this kind of stuff. But I think I'm going to be hopefully in conversation with some of the organisers from Move It, who are also linked to East London Dance, and I know that, Kamina, you've done a lot of stuff with East London Dance. Potentially you've done some stuff with them, so hopefully we'll make some moves and let's bring folk dance, let's bring alternative dance to Move It because it's so necessary, and to sort of spotlight, you know, giving sort of people with disabilities and putting them in the forefront, and that sort of spotlight on them, because literally they have these presentation stages where, you know, companies can, you know, they can give and they can show exactly what they are doing in the world.
Well, I have a vision.
I have a vision for a project that I want to do, but it will involve a lot of funding and a lot of collaboration with a lot of people who are disabled dance artists, disabled companies, people dancing or Dance UK. It's called We Can Move It Too. And it's about having a space where people can try out inclusive dance, alternative dance, a space where you can have stalls where people know about disabled dance companies and disabled dance courses, you know. But it's a big, big project, and I can't do it all on my own.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, I'm not trying to not make eye contact with Rachel, who controls my to-do list. I do think that highlights so strongly that there is a need for accessible practice to become standard, and hopefully with events like this and the work of all you fantastic people in this room, that can become more of a reality, and can become more of a mainstream method of thinking. That's my vision for a perfect world, with a few other important factors as well. But yeah, the visibility of disabled people in mainstream settings, as a few people have referenced, without the disability being the thing that's being held up as a banner. It being the fact that they're a dance artist, they're a musician, they're a practitioner of some kind. That is so key to that inclusive mindset becoming the reality that we all want. So, does anybody have anything else that we haven't touched on that might become a thing? I think. Oh, go on, Sarah.
I'll have a little chat about something. So, one of the things that I really think is important is as practitioners to be curious, to listen and to learn and be brave, be playful. Just really indulge in your practice and don't be frightened to kind of give something a go. So I think it's really important that we give permission to each other to engage in things in a way that feels most comfortable for us, and to create that space for that to happen. And I think today has been an example of that, where we can have those courageous conversations, because they're tricky conversations to have. We don't want to trip up and say the wrong thing. We don't want to offend people. But I think it's really important to learn through mistake as well, and to learn from each other in a way that gives us empowerment as facilitators as well, to go out and give it a go and not be frightened of that. And you can start small as well, start with small groups of people and build it up, whatever works for you. But yeah, that's kind of my big thing, is just about being brave, being curious, being playful, just get out there and give it a go, because if you don't, it's not going to happen. It's really not going to happen. So go out there and give it a go.
Fantastic. I think that's a suitably positive and uplifting message to end on. So I would just like to say a huge, huge thank you to everyone who's presented today. You're all absolutely fabulous, and everything we hoped it was going to be, and glorious and wonderful, and thank you so much. Huge thank you as well to Kerry and Kieran and Rachel, who've been helping organise the event. And chiefly to all of you for coming and being up for taking part in one of these days. We don't yet know where our next Folk Education Network... Oh, do we? Oh, that's exciting.
We don't know that, but just before we say that we don't know where the next one is going to be, can we please give a huge round of applause?
Yeah.
Warm thank you and brilliant work from the lovely Jen Cox. Only she organised this and done what it is great.
Thanks, Kerry, and yeah, thank you all very much for being here, and I hope you will be able to join us at the next one. So we tend to run 3 Folk Education Network days a year, with one of them themed around dance, which is usually here. But if you're not already a member of the Folk Education Network, which currently functions as a Facebook group, please do get involved with that and sign up to our education newsletter, which is how you will hear about more things. All the info about this will come out to you in a pack with presentations and stuff after the event. Stuff. Yes, the film will take longer.
We're going to be sharing emails as well, aren't we? So people can connect.
Yes.
Thanks, Jen. So Emmy just asked, we're going to be sharing emails. So if you agreed when you signed up that you would be happy to have your email shared, it will only be shared with the people who are in the room today. It won't be shared with anybody else. The presentations will be shared with everybody in the room, plus the Folk Education Network members who were not able to be here. But that's just the presentations. Emails are just within the people who are here in the room. Thanks.
Fantastic. I think to the second, that is the end of our scheduled time. Thank you all so much.